Okay, so let's start off the meeting. We're about two after. So we have a long-going tradition to let the newcomers introduce themselves before we begin with the agenda. So, are there any newcomers on the call?
Hello everyone,
Yeah,
I'm Divakar.
Hey, hi, Divakar. If you would just introduce yourself a little bit.
Okay, I'm actually pursuing my master's in computer application. Also, I have done a few projects in React, and I would have to contribute to this process, to this project.
Awesome,
Thank you.
that's great to hear. Awesome to have you here. Uh, Anybody else?
Thanks a lot,
yeah,
Aditya.
Hardik Agrawal.
Hey, Hardik.
Yeah, so currently I'm in third year of my BTech. I'm and I'm primarily a merge stack developer, and I'm into blockchain development. I'm new to open source, so yeah. Yesterday itself, I just did my first PR in layer 5 Meshery. Yeah, I'm excited. Yeah.
That's awesome. First meeting and a PR already ready for review. That's great. Who else is a newcomer? Let's have your
Hello.
hi.
I'm Kushal Kumar. I'm currently pursuing mathematics and computing, and I've been doing the development in React, and I'm starting to learn Go currently. And as I learn, I would love to contribute to Meshery.
Awesome. Hey, anyone else?
Yep. Hi, I'm Rajat A.
Hey, Rajat.
Um, Hi. So I have almost around 10 years of experience. Basically, doing everything from front end, back end, DevOps. I've been writing Kubernetes operators for like last 2-3 years, and happy to join this forum and start contributing on this project of Meshery. Yeah.
Great. Okay, so let's start off. Are there anyone? Is there anyone else who would like to introduce themselves?
Yeah, I'd like to introduce myself.
Yeah.
I am Himanshu Pandey.
Hey.
Hello.
Yeah.
So I'm in my third year. Like I'm pursuing electrical engineering and in a college in Surat, and I'm a backend developer. And I also like came across Layer 5 and Meshery. So I joined the Slack group and now looking forward to the contributions that I may do in future.
Great. Okay, so let's start off with the agenda. If there's anyone left, if you guys could please introduce yourselves on chat, that would be awesome. So let's start off with the first agenda, which is Nitesh, updates of the connection wizard. Nitesh, would you share your screen?
Yeah, actually, it would be better if we come later because my there's some problem with setting up the environment. So if you
All right,
just
we'll come back to you
yeah.
later then. Cool. Shantan, would you like to talk about yours?
Yeah, sure. I would like to talk about mine. So, can you give me the permission for the screen sharing?
Yeah, go ahead. Wait, is it locked? Okay, yeah, cool.
So actually, I was working on this changing of the port dynamically. So right now, this port will start from 4,000. Previously, it was start running on 3,000. But if there was something already running on 3,000, our Meshery UI dev server was replacing it. But right now, it just take the port as 4,000 at first, and it sees if 4,000 is already busy or not. If it's busy, then it's detected and just increment it port number. So like if 4,000 is busy, it will go to 4,001, and basically it's a while loop, so it will just go on increasing that way. But the problem is that I am stuck at this place. Like if you see, we in our code base we have already hard coded like the 3,000 everywhere. Like in the package.jsons also we have some 3,000 hard coded. So basically, I don't understand how to make it globally through all the code base. So if anyone could give me any suggestion on how to do that, so it would be great.
So actually, like I don't think we have to waste time doing that thing because we would be refactoring the whole code base. So in that case, it would become like it would not make any sense to do this thing, take some time to do this thing. So I think we can stop there.
You are suggesting to stop up to this place only?
Yeah, just push these changes to the no, don't push it, like let the PR be there, and once we have done the refactoring, then we could push it, because in that case, like we wouldn't be totally using Cypress, so uh, it
Okay.
wouldn't make sense to change everything. So yeah.
Okay. So right now we can hold this PR, right?
Yeah.
Okay.
Awesome. Thanks, Sayantan. Thanks, Nitesh. Moving on, we have Ashish about the updates on the generation of pattern components.
Yeah, if you can give me permission to share my screen.
Yeah, go ahead.
Okay, so I was working on this function, register workloads dynamically for runtime component generation. So right now I have 4 PRs waiting to be merged, or you can say in progress, work in progress in 4 adapters. But the thing with these PRs is that Lee pointed out that this function is being replicated across all of the adapters. So we think we should push something to the adapter library. And then Utkarsh pointed out that, yeah, we can do it because code is almost the same. The URL changes, the way in which we get all of the component changes, and we can configure all of that into a single struct, like something like this dynamic component struct. We can configure timeouts, URL generation method, mesh name, etc. Yeah, and that sounds good, except for the fact that I'm using the OAM registrant data struct, and this struct is basically replicated across all of the adapters. So I will need this struct. Basically, this struct is the one which gets marshaled into the JSON, which is being sent to the Meshery server. So I would need this struct in the adapter library. So we'll have to basically remove the struct from all of the adapters.
Ashish, actually, it is an adapter library. So if you just check the path, it's
okay,
coming from Meshery adapter library.
Wait, let me see. I'll just search for this. Okay, yeah, we have it. Then why do you have that individually in all of the adapters?
It could be that this was not removed. I'm not sure.
This was not?
It could be that after migrating, it was not removed from here.
Okay,
can you check the references to this thing? Probably the references might be 0.
Okay, then okay, then if this struct already exists here, can I remove it from all of the adapters and use this one instead?
Yeah, I think so. Yeah.
Okay, then if that is possible, then okay, we can move basically move this method, the register workload dynamically method, into the Meshery adapter library. And one more question I was asking you about the struct, in which that you were saying we can make a struct. So you basically adding the method to the struct is what you're saying, right? Not passing the struct as a config onto the method, onto the function.
No, actually, the latter was what I was suggesting, that is taking in
passing the
configuration. Yeah.
Okay, then I'll do it that way. Okay. That was it from me. Thank you for the feedback. I'll go ahead and make changes.
Thank you, Ashish. Thanks, Utkarsh. Next, wait, just hold on. Okay, yeah. So moving on, next we have Aditya with his PR on refactoring the YAML for the docs. Aditya, are you here?
Yeah, I'm here. Just a second.
Would you like
share my screen?
Yeah.
Yeah, one sec. Right. So for 3 days, I have been working on the refactoring of the YAML structure of the documentation using just one single file instead of multiple files over here on the data. As you can see here, instead of these folders, an idea is to make just a single file which fetches all the commands and description from here, and then fetch from here. This is the command one, and other one is if we subcommand is here, we would just fetch like subcommand using the variables, and this is just the description about what command we have to fetch. It will fetch from here, and this one is the live example you're looking on. This is the live example you're looking on actually, except the fact that the table is alone is need to be worked on, because I have tried two methods. Like one is assigning like direct variable onto the name itself, so but it would take a lot of what you can say lines of code for that. Another method is like assigning like an array, but I have to figure it out yet. So any feedback from this, guys?
Yeah, just some quick feedback, and maybe in general, I'll say that there's enough folks who are on the call for the first time today that we should probably follow in the tradition of being over-explanatory, maybe being somewhat overly verbose with like explaining the items that you guys are working on. So just for those that aren't following along in the Zoom chat, there's some context that's being given in the Zoom chat as to, well, what Ashish was talking about service mesh patterns. Super exciting area in Meshery, by the way. Very, very exciting. And maybe I'll leave it at that. There's a link or two to look at what service mesh patterns are. And I'll admit that it's an ill-described concept, what a pattern is versus how it is that applications and filters and service meshes are managed by Meshery. What's the difference? It's not well articulated today. So like someone strike up a conversation in the Discuss forum. Actually, it would be a great place if you have questions about service mesh patterns, but they're going to be pervasive to how it is that Meshery works. As a matter of fact, just as a side, we'll talk more about this on Friday's community call, but the community here will be giving a talk at Service Mesh Con. Actually, I think the community will be giving about 5 talks at KubeCon. But one of them, it will be at Service Mesh Con on service mesh patterns. So, and Meshery and the work that you all have been doing will be on stage multiple times. So whether you like it or not, you're going to have to learn about service mesh patterns, I guess. But cool. So then back to what Aditya is speaking to is he's just trying to apply dry, like he's going to try to stop having us repeat ourselves in terms of how it is that the Meshery CTL command reference is implemented. If you look at the mesh, docs.meshery.io, and you go to the command reference, you'll note that embarrassingly, it's just copy pasta. It's just copy paste, copy paste, copy paste. In the way in which this is done, when there's actually a little more elegance to it now. So Aditya, do you mind? Can you go to the docs, please? Show people the.
Yeah, sure. Give me a sec.
Thank you.
Sorry.
But it's a bit more elegant than this. Aditya has brought in some and is bringing in more elegance, if you will. So, it's always the bane of any software project to make sure that its documentation is actually up to speed and reflective of one of the actual functionality of the software, but even more than that, that hopefully you would find that the documentation is in fact helpful in articulating the actual behavior of the software. That's where the meat of it is. That's like the true value of a piece of documentation, is helping people understand the behavior of the thing, not explaining to them that there's a field called name and they need to type in a name in the field. Like that's of zero value. And so anyway, the more auto-documented some of Meshery's functionality is, the more up to speed it is. That's good. If it's auto-documented, which right now the REST API and the GraphQL API, they are auto-documented. So too is the error codes guide. That's an impressive piece of work. that a few of you, Michael and Rudraksh and Ashish, and like a list of you have, and Shreyas, and like a list of you have gone through to make sure that that error codes guide is pretty awesome. That's auto-documented. And the way that that works is pretty intriguing. So I'm still, no pressure, Michael, but I'm still waiting for the, he's written it, like you've written it like 2 or 3 times now, the intricacies of that error code utilities, but like a blog post, I think it's blog post worthy. It's an interesting concept. This error code guide is auto documented and auto published every time that there's a merge to Meshery's master branch. By the way, I'm gonna make a call out. So I didn't mean to sideswipe you necessarily. I'm gonna hand it back to you in just a moment, and I'll say that there's a call for volunteers here, or a volunteer. If you're like me and don't like reading words vertically, like that failed to encode private key, like how we've got a column that's yay wide. There's a better way of displaying this information than a tabular format. And it doesn't take too creative of a mind to figure out something else. So if you're looking to make a mark, or if you've already made a mark and you want to make another one, like this is a great place. Like, please come make a mark on information architecture and the way in which, people can navigate these error codes. I'll submit to all of you, and please, anyone, if you think about this differently, please say so, that when someone sees an error code like this in the log lines, which, these get generated and you can see them in Meshery servers logs, you can see them when you're using mesheryctl, the command line client, you can see these error codes. And it's great because if you click the link right there on your command line, it should take you right over to this page. The problem is usually the error codes, that moniker that you see on the left-hand side, error generate default code, root CA code, and 1106, they're separated here. When they're presented to the user, they're mashed together. So if a user does a Google search, they're going to search the term mashed together, and they're not going to find it here. Moreover, if they copy that term into their clipboard and they do a find in their browser here, it's not going to match exactly. They're going to have to remove the error code, the specific code, and just go after the moniker. And so there's a few considerations to make here if anybody wants to. Yeah. And then, so Aditya, back to you. So right now, Aditya, can you clarify for everyone the mesheryctl commands? We are not using GoDocs, or we are not auto generating the documentation. And so that's not part of the goal that you're working on?
It's Jekyll, actually.
Yeah, we're speaking past each other. Actually, so aware that it's Jekyll. And so you're working toward Jekyll to incorporate includes, so that HTML is not repeated, but which is fantastic, which is good. But there's a step after this, Aditya, that we might give consideration to. And it's the notion that this documentation would be auto-generated. Because today it's handcrafted. Something to think about after that.
Nice idea. We'll think about it. So that's it from my side.
Thanks, Aditya. Thanks, Lee. So moving on, I missed one agenda.
Sorry to interrupt. So real quick, Aditya, were you asking for feedback from people, or were you asking for other additional volunteers, or were you just kind of giving a status update on?
Both status update and the feedback about that.
Okay. For my part, I guess I'll dig in and go look. I missed the specific call for, like, are you using the branch that was created before and kind of extending off of that, or where can we?
It's like the latest branch, so, and plus from your work too, actually. The only part we need to focus on is the reference table. That's where the problem starts to happen, and I'm trying to fix that 2 days ago.
Got you. Okay. So it looks like, okay, it looks like you're progressing then. You're not stuck necessarily, but so it's nothing in specific to give feedback on.
Okay.
Okay.
Then.
Yeah. Moving on. Sorry, Abhishek, I missed your agenda. So Abhishek has implemented the minimize and maximize feature on the pattern window in Meshery right now. Abhishek, would you like to share your screen?
Sure. I can. So I hope you can see it, and sorry. So so first of all, like for the newcomers here, what are patterns? So for you to deploy service message, you can deploy it using YAML files and configuring your applications with a whole big YAML, or you can do it with the patterns. So patterns provide you a very sleek way to uh, go through a form and create the your like create the application and integrate different service messages as well, and different things the easiest way. So that's what the pattern is. So it's still under the beta, and we are developing it. So for the time being, the PR that Aditya just discussed about is we have this dialog button, this dialog box where we can see the pattern configuration. So this is the YAML file, and so it's just very small PR. So you have to just click on this what is called expand icon, and the dialog will expand, and that was the PR. So yeah. So actually, it's currently having a tooltip issue because multiple states are changing at the same time. That's why it's not able to persist the state changer or whatever with the reason, like I could not explain it. Sorry. So that's why you can see the tooltip is not just vanishing out when we uh, close the application, or sometime it does. So yeah, I was just looking out for removing this thing, but I think I have to just get rid of the tooltip actually. So I'm looking at for now. This was the plan. Should I stop share? Or do you have any question on patterns and anything else?
While other people are thinking, I got a question. The Abi, do you know the modal component that's being used there? Do you know, are we using the same modal component or filters and applications as well? Do those benefit from that maximize, minimize?
Yeah, so actually we are going to use the same model component. No, we are actually not using the same model component, but there are, I think, three different model component. That's why I just changed the pattern model component, and the changes are not reflected in applications and filters. So but this feature like can be used in applications and filters. Actually they should be used in it. And so first of all, like what I'm currently doing is just trying out different experimentations with the pattern UI itself. Then once the pattern UI comes under some stable version or something like that, So we can apply those changes on filters and application too, because they are somewhat same. The UI will share. Uh,
Yeah.
will be shared.
Good. Okay. Yeah, good. That answered my question. Two other comments / questions. One for Gaurav and one for Nitesh, if I could. Gaurav, no pressure because I think we just talked about this yesterday, but just quick confirmation. Those edit, I guess. Abhi, are we calling those the edit actions? Or the configuration actions, the icon that's right next to the play button?
Sorry, my mic.
Yeah, the action that you have there on the pattern. Not that one, but the other one on pattern. So Gaurav, you're looking to take that one to applications and filters, is that right?
Yep, that's right. The same thing functionality would be there for the applications as we have for the filters. And I hope my voice is not that much low today. Or is it?
Yeah, it really is. It's really low. The danger is that people will turn up their speakers really loud, and then someone might say something loud and hurt everyone's ear. Gaurav, thanks for letting me mess around with you. Thanks for that. Thanks for carrying that forth to the other components or the other filters and applications. That's really exciting. I think Aditya just contributed a kind of a fix there as well. But Abhi, the question that I was not asking very well is that icon under the actions column. Yeah, that guy. What are we calling that?
I'm not calling it anything for now, but so it's like create button or something like. So the purpose of it is to edit the patterns in more user-friendly way, showing the user interface and the whole big paragraph that we just discussed in the previous meeting. So uh, anything like we can call it configuration wizard or it sounds duplicate, but yeah, we can call it something. We have to leave it.
Nice, perfect. I think you hit it on the head. That was the same thought that I had was configure, because it is something of a configurator. And so, cool. Cool. Anybody else have comments for Abhi? No, Abhi has a piece of news that he might want to share today. He might want to share on the community call. And so I'll leave that cliffhanger out there. So we might wait till Friday. Okay. Got it. Back to you, Aditya.
All right. Okay. Even I don't know the news. So it's okay, intriguing. Let's move on. Okay, so it's my time now. Okay. So Lee, yesterday he made some changes to the getting started part of Meshery IO. Let's have a look at that. So yeah, now it is now he has made a portion where you understand that you have to install mesheryctl first and then do these steps. Previously, it was not very easy to understand that. Any feedback on this? Okay, guess not. So I had also pitched a design.
Yeah. Oh, sorry.
Go on.
No, I thought you were done totally. Please continue.
So I had made a design on Figma which looks kind of like this. If anyone wants to say anything about it, just trying to be a good salesperson. Anyone?
I really enjoy the one install to rule them all. Yeah. Oh yeah. Now, just as so this is something that everyone, even if this is you've only looked at Meshery for, especially if you've only looked at Meshery for 10 minutes, this is something that everyone can have an opinion on, and your opinion is quite valid. So there are two websites that have brief instructions for how to get started with Meshery. One of them is meshery.io. The other one is layer5.io. 200 and something of you have worked on layer5.io, and it's amazing that it doesn't look like that. It's a really pretty site, and it represents all of the projects. It's great. Now, on both of the sites, they have a getting started with Meshery. This is the meshery.io one. We all of you have, and many that aren't represented on today's call, have worked hard to make Meshery's install quite simple, boiling it all the way down to like basically a single step. One command that you can execute, and by the time the command is done, it will have downloaded Meshery, installed Meshery, brought up Meshery in your browser, and it will account for whether or not you're deploying on a headless system or not, but bring it up in your browser, and boom, conceptually, you're off and managing meshes, like with one command. Good. Now, that's if you run the bash script, the very leftmost command, and that will work for Linux and Mac. That's not because we're bigoted toward those technologies, it's because it's even harder to get to Windows. The challenge is the snake oil that hopefully someone can create here as a salesman is for the other platforms. If there's kind of this prerequisite step, like we want to keep it to a single step to the extent that we can. Aditya, maybe if you just go to like GKE or EKS or AKS or something, I think those are good representative examples of the fact that there's a prereq. You can use mesheryctl to install an AKS. And so that's, the thing is you need to get mesheryctl and then invoke the command. So in concept, it's like two tasks inside the same step. And that's the way that it's presented here. And so, if you want to get technical, maybe it's two steps, but it's represented as one. And so Aditya is trying to hold true to the work that you all have done. And he's trying to keep it to, one step thing. So anyway, he's thinking about it actively. He's got a mock-up going there in Figma that, by the way, if you're here and you don't have access to these designs in Figma, then just ask, because these are community designs.
So, hi, Rajat here. Just want to ask one thing. Is there any option for executing mesheryctl from a Docker image as well? Is there any Docker image from mesheryctl available?
Yeah, it's a great. No, but
or maybe any Terraform provider for Meshery?
No.
Okay.
Those are especially. I mean, I think it would be hard to argue against either the two of those suggestions. For the first one, it's because that's such an easy thing to produce, and it's such a low maintenance thing. It's just another package to offer. Why wouldn't we? And then on the second one with Terraform, it's oh yeah, no, we should. That would be a really good thing for the community to produce.
Yep. Because anyway, on most of the enterprise project, in case if we'll try to get Meshery for its adoption, people get handy of Terraform providers that can become the part of their existing infrastructure as a code.
Sold. I mean, yeah, totally. Help out an ignorant old man. In that, for Terraform and to help integrate into the Terraform ecosystem, in your mind, would that require a Meshery provider, or is that taking it too far?
So just like any so basically for writing a Terraform, we need to create providers for any resource to get initialized. So in Terraform we call it providers. So provider is basically an entry door for any resource to get instantiated. And as for example, mesheryctl actually become a part of the Terraform provider, which can open a door for a user to share the input is in the form of the configurations, which they can provide in the form of the data or maybe a resources.
You mean like mesheryctl being a provider for installing Istio, for example, or something like that? In Terraform.
Istio, yes, exactly. So, I mean, the use case is that else it'll basically increase the adoption of Meshery, because I mean, for enterprise grade application, people are writing a lot of Terraform templates, so it'll be easy for them to integrate into their existing ecosystem.
I'm trying to let that statement stand unto its own, Rajat, because it's like so obvious that, or like, yes. Not only do those, certainly for number two, this is just my own perspective and opinion, and everyone else is welcome to add to this or detract from it. But certainly for that second suggestion is like, yeah, quite obviously, exactly what you just said is true. Like integrating into those other ecosystems and into existing tooling is precisely the way in which you grease the wheels of adoption. Like, yeah.
Yep, exactly.
There's another, out of curiosity, random poll, and Rajat, since your mic is on, maybe aimed at you as well, is there's a oh gosh, what's it called? There's a project out there. It's a it's like an application catalog in some respects. I thought it was called, starts with an S. I thought it was called Sandbox. It's a CNCF project, CNCF Sandbox project. There was, I'll go look it up. Samir, you're not on the call, is he? No. But there was a recent suggestion to create a Meshery entry into that, for that, basically a Meshery provider for that as well. I'll go find it. Just curious if anyone was using it. So apologies, my memory lapses.
Yeah, I mean, I'm just right now looking at the Terraform official, service provider list. Meshery is not the part of their option or catalog.
And we should, so Rajat, like as a way of embracing and welcoming you.
Yeah, sorry.
Yeah, I don't know. I mean, this could be this. It's an open game. I mean, I don't know if this is something of interest to you specifically, but something that you could potentially.
Yeah, sure.
Mm-hmm. Nice. Okay, I'll go find that other name of the thing that I was trying to ask about, but it's an application catalog, and but back to you, Aditya.
Thanks, Rajat. Thanks, Lee. So, does anyone have anything to add to that, or are we good to move on? Okay, I guess we're good to move on. So next we have Nitesh to talk about his million PRs. Nitesh, over to you.
Yeah. Okay, so to give people who don't actually know what connection wizard is, like it's a component in Meshery with which we can figure out like whether all the components of Meshery are deployed properly and they are connected to Meshery server properly. So we have 4 steps with which like we can ensure that each of the components of Meshery are deployed and connected successfully. So there has been some changes recently that I have made to improve the UX and UI. Okay, so the first one is that I have added the loader spinner. So initially, like Meshery operator actually takes some, like the current testing that we have. It does take some time to for the result to come back. So it in some cases like takes some time. So if the loading spinner was not there, then the user will not have any idea of what's to come in, or he might like it will not be a good experience for the user. So I have just added a loading spinner there. Yeah. Yeah, that's one thing. And initially, like if you have seen the last version of this connection wizard, you would have seen that like the adapters were not dynamically fetched. They were actually everything was using Meshery, like everything was like this one. So now I have changed the logic to make it such that the if the adapter is actually connected, then it will figure out like which adapter is actually connected. In this case, it is Meshery istio adapter. So it takes that icon and it renders that. Yeah. And I've also actually like, there was a issue with this thing that this particular this particular Meshery icon was not being like it is supposed to be black and white, but it was not happening in case of Safari because of the like the CSS filters were not getting applied properly. So I've fixed that by changing it to a SVG with which has black and white color. So that is one thing. And other than that, I have added a final step. So now, like if the user, I mean, like if they have completed the connection wizard, I mean, like all the steps, then we are showing a screen that shows that you have done all those things, and if you want to go to dashboard, they can go, or if you want to start over, they can do so. Yeah, these are the updates for now. So anybody has any suggestions or any feedback on this thing, they are welcome to share.
Nitesh, one thing, could you once scroll on these Meshery logos on this page? Couldn't we get something like a little bit more, like doesn't this look a little dull, like the scroll bar?
Yeah, actually, like we still haven't come up with a solid design of how this is just this like it will definitely change over time, but this is what we are having right now because we are not having a solid design of how we can change it. So, and also like I see that we have an issue here, like this scroll bar is not supposed to be shown here, and it is being shown because like in case of Firefox, the style sheet is not getting applied. The global style sheet that is put in the document, it's not getting applied. So that is something that I'll have to look into as well.
Does anyone else have anything to say?
There's just a couple. I mean, so Nitesh does have a design that I don't know if he just said this, but that uses arrows on the top of the like I don't know. There's improvements kind of all around in the details card that can be enhanced. Which are all concerns. Maybe the more egregious concern is that of the second step of Meshery operator, which is Meshery operator controls mesh sync. Mesh sync is the heart of Meshery. It pumps updates from Kubernetes over to Meshery server. And so if the user gets stuck on step 2, it's a big old deal. Like, you know, you can still do a lot of performance management with Meshery without mesh sync, and even without being connected to Kubernetes, you can still do a lot of performance management with Meshery as a standalone tool. But you'll gain, even if you want to manage a service mesh, then you're gonna need to connect to Kubernetes, and you're gonna want and need the Meshery operator connected and deployed. And I think Nitesh, you're tracking a couple of, it's like, hey, when the operator doesn't connect, what to do? Like, what should the user?
Yeah, so right now when in any of these steps, if a particular step is not complete, then we are not allowing the user to move to the next step. That's what we are doing right now. But if it is something that you think it should be changed, then we should really think about it. Because ideally, like one use case for thing that we're having right now is that if they are not able to, I mean, like if they are stuck in a particular step, then they can actually come and tell us that okay, I'm stuck in step 2 of the connection wizard. So we can actually figure out that okay, there's something wrong with Meshery operator. If the user is not very interested in saying that like Meshery has these components and yeah, he's not interested in knowing all those things, he can just say that I'm stuck in step 2, and we can figure out that Meshery operator is not running, and that might or might not help us in debugging, but yeah.
So you're right. Like this, having the connection wizard is a big step forward, and it's to help everyone think on the second part of this question, which is when the operator doesn't connect, what tools does the connection wizard provide them to troubleshoot that? Like, should they restart this or poke at that or look at that log or like what? And so there's any number of right answers to help everyone here. Because again, like anyone who's runs Meshery, this is a potential snag for you, like a potential area that you get caught up on. To think about that, if you go to the settings area, so today there's a couple additional, 2 additional controls that are provided to the user. They can try to directly do a connectivity test to mesh sync. They can also provision or deprovision the operator by switching on or off the operator. And I know we've got additional enhancements coming forth, but I guess
Actually, it's almost like it's 95% done. There is one small thing that is still troubling us, which Dhruv and I are looking at. We'll try to get this up, into Meshery as soon as possible. So basically, like those 2 things, if they are already connected, we can actually. So right now, to be more clear, like when you click on the mesh sync, it is not actually going to test whether mesh sync is deployed or not, because we are using operator to do that. Like operator is the place where we can see whether mesh sync and NATs are deployed correctly or wrong, if I'm not wrong. And this mesh sync chip is supposed to, what it's supposed to do is that if in case like there is some problem with the deployment of mesh sync, or we would actually have NATs chip as well. But the reason for it not showing up is that it's not deployed. Like there's some problem with the deployment, right? Connection for now. So we would have that as well. So in that case, like if you click, if he wants to redeploy the mesh sync or reconnect to the NAT server, then we were thinking of that if we could click on this particular adapter chip, then it would try to redeploy the mesh sync or reconnect to the NAT server. That's what the idea that we were having. So, but I see that like it is not driving consistency in the UI, because in other places as well, we are actually using the adapter chips to as a way to see whether it is actually deployed or not by clicking on it. Like it basically pings the particular component, but this is moving away from that. So yeah, that is also something we have to think about. But just to get this out for now, like that's why we are having this particular chip here.
All right, thanks. Nitesh, anything else you would like to add?
Yeah, no, that's it.
Okay, thanks, Nitesh. Moving on to the next item on our agenda, which is Meghna. Meghna, would you like to share your screen?
Actually, I won't be able to. There's some issue with my computer, but I've updated the PR. Could you open the PR? I've added the link in the doc.
This is it, right?
I'm going to see a screen.
You're not sharing your screen.
Wait, oh, am I not sharing? Oh, sorry. My bad. Okay, so this is the link that you gave, right?
Yes. Is that the? Oh, I'm sorry. Then just go back to that issue particular.
Yeah.
Event. Yeah, this one. So just go to the top of this one. Okay.
Yep.
So the third one, I have not committed that yet, but this is what I have right now. So I've formatted this, the current version that I have. Any comments on that?
Yeah. Let me see if I can offer up just in the remaining minutes they have, maybe offer up some food for thought for everyone, take you through the thought process here. So here's a Meshery system. And so what Meghana is looking at is one of the, well, I guess older areas of Meshery in a good way, like old in a way in which is like solid. And that is performance management. And that is, well, that someone might have run a test, and after their performance test is done, they can look at results. Let me see if we can find a more interesting. Uh-oh, it looks like we're not refreshing. Hold on, let's go back to that week view. August 8th to August 14th. Go to the month view. Oh, okay. There aren't any. Okay. All right. So here's a good example. I've just, as a user, I've just run a performance test, and I'm looking at what is a deliciously tantalizing, complex view characterization of the performance of this my services. And for my part, for my pea brain can't really think of anything better to display other than this, like a histogram like this. Like there's a lot of value, intrinsic value into deciphering this and understanding what's going on, the behavior of the requests, and et cetera. And like this seems pretty good to me, and that's just my perspective. And it's got your latencies, your percent, your P90, P50s, P75, P90s kind of overlaid as annotations. Like it's not too bad. Moreover, you can go in and compare the two. So if you go grab any two results, you can compare them. And so maybe you made a change and you can see like, oh, okay, this running it like this is more expensive or less expensive or slower or faster. And it's nice. You can compare the two. So here was test A and here was test B. The good from a chart perspective, it's not too bad. Now it's using orange and red. Red looks like red screams bad to me. And there's some overlapping. And that's maybe because I'm so zoomed in. I don't know. Anyway, there's some small items, right? But one of the big items that Meghana is taking a crack at is this gobbledygook at the top, which is like, I don't know. It's a bunch of mishmash of characters strung together that are hard to read. And so if you take a look at her PR, she's asking for feedback. So if you take into account what we just looked at, here's how she has improved upon it. Oh, geez, Meghana, I'm sorry. You actually have a screenshot showing exactly like this is the current state. And here, oh, wow, a little bit of structure. Humans might be able to read this thing. So and with some bolding, even better. Yeah, okay, the negative is it takes up more screen space. But from and I'm trying to solicit thought from others on the call, but while there might be something even better than what you have is, I think it's a fact, is like an improvement. It's like, you can't argue that it's not an improvement. So long as you can fit that onto the screen, yeah. The question that I have is, have you been able to try this in a comparison mode? So when you have two.
No, I haven't. I only worked with the single one so far. Actually, the thing is, all the data that you are seeing right now is all part of one array itself. So that's why it's been difficult trying like managing the white space. So that's why there is I'm getting a little trouble with that. But what we can do is something similar to Viresh's PR, where he placed it beside the chart. Maybe that's something I can try. Maybe that will decrease white space, because most of it is caused because of the size of percentiles. So maybe we can try that. I'll see if I can.
Yeah, nice. Okay, so it was to take the percentiles here and move it off to the side?
Yes,
cool.
Yeah, that sounds good. I can do that. That will decrease this whole extra white space in the left and right that you're seeing, the blankness. So that's one suggestion. Maybe I can, that might make it look better. Anything else that you want me to work on?
If you don't mind, so Gaurav has a nice thought in chat, but Meghana, like what you just said from my perspective, and again, anyone else can chime in, but is like, yeah, I think that's a very healthy step forward, that you've bolded labels, you've given it some space so people can read what's going on, you've provided some architecture to the information. You take this tall aspect and put it consistently over on the right hand or the left hand side, and that will save you some of that room, and it'll eliminate some of the waste of white space here. Great. I think that's all very positive. If while you're in there, two subsequent things to follow on, one of which I think you're already tracking, which is as you go to compare to, how's that? And then if you go to compare 3 or more, Meshery actually behaves a little bit different. It'll show you a different type of chart because there's just so much to try to present to the user. So test that out if you would as well. The second thing to examine, if you would, is the red, the blue, the orange. These are just not part of Meshery's color scheme. And so, yeah.
Sure. What is the urgency of this issue? Because I'll be a little busy over the next week. I have exams, so I can.
No problem. You have your priorities straight, I would say. We should probably merge your PR as is, assuming we can get the percentiles on the side. Then
I'll do that. And push the code. I'm so sorry. We'll have it next week itself.
How dare you? How dare you focus on it? Cool. That is great.
That's it from my side. Yeah.
Thanks, Meghana. Okay. Next we have Anshuman's agenda. Anshuman, would you like to share your screen or just talk about it?
Yeah, just give me a second. Okay, is my screen visible? Is my screen visible?
Yes, it is.
Okay, so the current behavior of the Meshery website is like that. There is nothing set for the the JavaScript. If users are not able to have not allowed the JavaScript, then the site looks kind of messy. Like currently I've disabled the JavaScript. So as you can see, the nav bar has distorted from its place, and here we can see also the tweets option has also gone. So I added the no script file, like if we turn off the JavaScript in the browser, so it will like display a message like please enable JavaScript to view the page. But as discussed with Lee was also saying that, is it necessary, like, is there exist any audience which have their JavaScript off? So I want your opinion also, that should we add this feature on the page or not?
On what all browser platform did you tested this?
I've tested it on like Opera GX only.
And not on
not
any
all
Windows
browsers, but
not on browser. Yeah.
Yes.
So maybe like I guess there's a whole bunch of audience uh, uh, that are not using Chrome or Opera,
Yes,
and
yes.
they are still working on Mozilla or maybe some implementation of Microsoft. So
Yes. Like I've also read in the some documentations that due to some security issues, some people turns off their JavaScript so that they are safe.
Hmm.
So should we include this on the page or not? Like, is it a concern?
Yeah, I mean, for audience, I mean, for audience that are more cautious about their development environment, the or those who are working in a so-called enterprise ecosystem. Yes, this feature can be useful for them.
Okay. So that's all what I wanted to discuss. So thank you.
Does anyone else want to add to that?
Anshuman, you might drop
Yes.
a yellow or a something a little more
catchy look.
Yeah, just like if what we're trying to tell the user is, hey, you're having a degraded experience, so be aware of that. Like, but I don't know, something to think about. I don't, maybe like yellow is like, this tall of yellow might be,
Yeah, that would be helping at us. Maybe get it a little thinner too, and then
okay. Okay, I'll keep that in mind.
All right. Do we want to talk about this, Rudraksh and Ashish?
Yeah, for my part, like we since we're at time, there's a design spec. If people just very briefly, the topic is about providing more out of the box value in Meshery and kind of bundling in useful envoy filters, useful common service mesh patterns that people for people to use, and this design spec is just how we would go about doing that. And so this is open for comment. So anybody that is ready for review, it's so good. And so I think, tentatively Rudraksh's name is tagged as being involved here, and depending upon Rudraksh, Ashish, Mr. Tiwari might get his hands dirty as well. Not that doesn't mean that this isn't open to anyone. It absolutely is. I just mean those two individuals are already have to bear this cross. So involuntarily. Cool. That was it. We don't have to talk about it beyond that.
All right. So that brings us. Okay, Afzal, you want to talk about? You don't have to write on the agenda if you want to talk about it right now. Also, since we're already past time, if anyone wants to drop off, it's completely fine. Thank you for coming. Yeah, see you next time. Afzal, do you want to talk about it?
Maybe I can discuss with you on Slack channel if you have time.
Oh yeah, we could do that. Okay.
Yeah, all right. Makes
All right.
sense.
Cool. Okay, so that brings us to the end, I guess. Thank you all. Bye bye. Tomorrow we have a newcomers call, so all the newcomers, please feel free to hop into that one. I'll explain all our projects in details, get a better idea of what we were actually talking about today. So, yeah. Bye all. Thanks for coming.
Wow. Thanks, Aditya.
Bye bye.
Bye guys.
Yes.